Yes, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum, a very special episode, preview show. Euro 2020, Alan, even though it's 2021, it's going...
We're still going by this marketing plan here.
Very, very interesting marketing plan. But Alan is here in the building. We're going to talk a lot about Euro 2020. I'm probably going to call it 2021, 2020. I'll be flip-flopping back and forth.
I'm just glad we have an international tournament. It's been 3 years. We're used to it every other summer. We had to wait a little longer this one, so I'm just grateful that it's almost here. A little bit of a weird dynamic being in 10 different cities, but the sport is always doing things that make you question it, but then you watch the tournament, it's like, okay, by day 5, I'm absolutely hooked on it, and next thing I know, I'm watching Austria, Ukraine, and my life depends on it.
Yeah, I end up watching all the games pretty much. It's a nice little layout, right? The games are starting 9 a.m. Eastern time, then it's noon, and then 3 p.m. Eastern time, which is a nice little spacing throughout. We kept talking on the last couple of episodes just briefly about how there seemed to be no buzz about the Euro Cup. And now I'm seeing more advertising for it. Do you think it's because all the seasons have ended now and the Champions League ended? Now it's guns blazing.
Yeah, probably. Like I've noticed there's bars around New York with the flags are all up. So I think it was just a matter of time to build up ESPN. I've seen more commercials of it. Seen some of the traditional countries back in major tournament, Italy and Holland, not having those two countries involved in the last World Cup. It did diminish a little bit just from a popularity standpoint because those are two very historic countries when you look at all the major tournaments. So having them two back and just the fact that we're actually getting a major tournament because I think there's the layoff. It affects you because you're just accustomed to seeing a major tournament every 2 years, and like these 4 weeks are just gonna be chaos. And you see countries unite, crazy upsets, knockout stage, penalty shows. The end all be all. So the fact that we're finally getting it, I think it's finally hit, and seeing the likes of Italy and Netherlands back, it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, two historically powerhouses in Europe. Though I do have a lot of, with every team, I did a lot of research on this one, bro.
Yeah.
With every team, I got the best finish that they've had at each Euro Cup throughout its history. I do want to mention a little bit of betting history for the Euro Cup. Do you know who the biggest underdog in Euro Cup history ever was?
You could answer this.
So I was talking to my dad today, right?
Yeah.
And Greece in 2004
did not qualify for this tournament, so this is where we're gonna get the mention.
Yeah, this is gonna be the only, but they are a former champion of Europe. It was in 2004. Remember, Greece also, Athens had the Olympics that year. So I asked my dad, I was like, yo, Pop, how come you didn't bet on Greece? They were anywhere from 80 to 150 to 1. Consensus was 150 to 1, meaning $1 won you $150.
Yeah, this was the one that was 16 teams.
Yeah, this was 16 teams. And he goes, son, the Euro Cup was rigged for Greece to win it because we had the Olympics. That team sucked, but it was the happiest sports moment of my life. I was like, all right, fair enough. But yeah, Greece, the biggest long shot underdog. Denmark in 92.
Yeah, man, I can't believe that.
Yeah, Schmeichel. Legend, absolute legend.
Yeah.
Man U legend too. A good legend, not, like some of you guys that listen legends, and I'm a legend also as well. Spain was the betting favorite in 2012. Italy was the second favorite. That ended up being the final. Portugal in 2016, the last Euro Cup, 26 to 1 odds at the start of the tournament.
Wasn't a very good team at the time.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And then France was the second favorite behind Germany,
Host country
at 4 to 1. France being the host country in 2016. So yeah, I mean, France won it in 2000. They were the favorites coming off a World Cup win in '98, and they won it as well. So yeah, some interesting betting history for the Euro Cup.
Yeah, and let's not forget, like, the start of Spain's dominance started at Euro 08. And Spain, I think, were known for being notorious underachievers at major tournaments. And for them to win in 08, then they won 2010, 2012. Like, that's where the dominance really began.
Yeah, so. In World Cup and Euro Cup history, that's never happened.
Right.
Winning 3 consecutive major tournaments. There's a team who I think is on the cusp of doing something very similar. We'll get to them in a little bit.
Right.
I have a couple of general talking points for this. Tournament setup. There's 24 teams. You mentioned how it was 16 teams. 6 groups of 4. Top 2 in each group advance. And then the 4 best third-place teams advance. That makes up the 16. If you had to pick a country who suffered the most because of the COVID delay, who would you pick? I thought about this before. I apologize I didn't send you this.
That's a very good question.
It was a popping question, right? I have an answer. So do you want me to go first while you think about it?
Yeah,
Since
you go
I kind of
first.
put you on the spot.
Yeah, I got to think about this.
So I think Belgium.
Okay.
I think Belgium suffered from there being COVID last year because that golden age that we've been waiting for Belgium the last couple of tournaments, and they've had some deep runs in tournaments. I think some of their best soccer is behind them, in particular Hazard. I think Hazard
played 14 games this year.
He's not the same guy, but then on the flip side, Carrasco goes back to Atletico and he helps them win La Liga.
Correct.
Lukaku's on fire coming into this one, but I do think that delay hurt them the most of any nation
because they're in the thick of their golden generation.
Right. And now De Bruyne has the fractured orbital.
He's probably gonna miss the first game, but group stage missing is not a big deal. But still, you want him fit.
Yeah. So I would go with Belgium. I think they're the biggest losers.
I think one big one comes to mind immediately is Holland. I might go between Holland and Netherlands. I'm used to saying Holland, but I'm gonna try to stick with Netherlands. But the big one being losing Van Dijk's huge loss, and Ronald Koeman was supposed to be there, and then he goes to Barcelona last summer, and all of a sudden now they're going to Frank de Boer, and Frank de Boer has flopped in a lot of places. He was hated in Atlanta United. He went to MLS at one point because he flopped at Inter, flopped at Crystal Palace. He goes to Atlanta United. He was not popular there one bit, so now he's back with the Netherlands national team, and they haven't quite looked the same. So,
and they got spanked by Turkey in qualifying, which is also another dynamic which I found very interesting.
Oh, correct, March,
there was some qualifiers for the World Cup. Right. And a lot of the notes that I've gathered for this one and a lot of just the things that I've heard is, this team went undefeated in Euro qualifying. Dude, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's something you really need to take with a grain of salt. There's some teams on here that we're going to touch where, they scored 14 goals. Yeah. This guy scored 10 goals in qualifying. And it's man, that's 2 years ago.
Some that made through a playoff. It was just COVID really, the layout would totally got disoriented. But if one comes to mind, it's not just because Van Dijk to me is the best center back in the world. Koeman, even though he was kind of unpopular in Barcelona, he was building something really good with the Netherlands because after not qualifying in the previous World Cup, they actually won their Nations League group, and that group had France and Germany, and they beat France and being the world champions. I don't care what if it's a competitive game, that's a big deal. And they were building something there, but Koeman got the dream offer at the Barcelona. He played for Barcelona. He had to take it. And now losing Van Dijk. I still think Netherlands, they're in a good position. I mean, they're in the weakest group. So
they of all the teams, they are the biggest favorite to advance to the next round.
I think they got a great draw, but I worry about them going to knockout stage and how much they could really build on it, and just not having Van Dijk and Koeman. I think it's been a bit of an adjustment for them, and it hasn't been comfortable so far given the qualifying results.
The host cities have been paired off for the group stages. So Group A is going to have all their games in Baku and in Rome. I'll be honest with you. Do you know where Baku is?
Baku's in Azerbaijan, so Azerbaijan did not qualify.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Nice. I had no idea.
Did you think it was in Turkey?
No, but I probably would have guessed one of those countries eventually.
Right.
But shout out to Azerbaijan, though. No disrespect. Group B, St. Petersburg and Copenhagen. Group C, Amsterdam and Bucharest. London and Glasgow.
Well, just to mention, Romania did not qualify, so Bucharest is kind of a neutral ground.
Interesting. Yeah. Good point. Yes, good point. Yeah. London and Glasgow for Group D.
Yeah.
Sevilla and St. Petersburg again for Group E. Budapest and Munich for Group F.
St. Petersburg, Russia?
Yeah, St. Petersburg, Russia.
Okay, so only Spain's really getting the advantage.
They're going to have 2 host cities in 2 different groups. In Group B and in Group E, St. Petersburg.
Hey, Russia did a fantastic job of hosting World Cup, so I'm not slandering Russia.
Yeah. So,
and then F is Germany and Hungary. They got games.
Yes, Budapest and in Munich. Right. Is there anything else that stands out to you from an overall Euro landscape heading into this tournament? Without like an overarching thing, right? 10 different host cities, I think is very intriguing.
Yeah. I think France and Portugal are the two best teams in Europe, so I'm interested to see how they fare playing away matches. So even though Hungary is obviously, talent-wise, they are fourth. They're going to be struggling, but just to see how France and Portugal potentially faces just diversity of it, and against a rebuilding Germany squad as well. I have high expectations for both countries, but playing in front of live fans, I'm going to see how the players react because we haven't really seen much of it. Looking back the club season.
Yeah, it seems like Spain and Germany and even Italy to a certain extent are going through a transition of a lot of youth coming in for those programs, and those are three powers.
Yeah, well, and they've fallen. I want to say fallen. Well, Italy, yes, have obviously fallen on hard times, and Germany to an extent. But you look at how they've all underachieved. Italy not qualifying, Germany blasted out of the group stage, Spain losing to Russia on penalties. These are three countries that are expected to be competing quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and for them to not even be anywhere near it, there's going to be major changes. These three countries are built on excellence. They're built on having a strong infrastructure, and it's kind of been diminished over the past few years. So I think that's why you're seeing a big revamp.
Is the Euro Cup harder to win than the World Cup?
No, I don't think so.
I think it is.
I like to hear your point.
There are more dominant powerhouse teams in Europe than there are internationally. Realistically, it's Argentina and Brazil.
But you still Uruguay's really built themselves up.
Fair.
Same goes for Colombia. And then Japan was beating Belgium 2-0. And Belgium had that crazy comeback.
Yeah.
So I still think international. There's things that there's countries there that provide, I guess, more of a different challenge. We talk about South American teams. Some are very stout defensively. You've seen Uruguay; they are just very physical, very rigid. So you have that, and then you have the flair of a Brazil, Argentina. You never know what the African teams could bring, even though I know they underwhelmed at the last World Cup. So I still think there's different dynamics. And we got to include Mexico as well. Mexico always presents a tough time.
And I mean the future 2026 World Cup champions of the United States.
Right. Which
we're repping here.
I'm going on recency, but nevertheless, yes. Let's look at 2022, even though that is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I'm kind of skipping past that one. But, all right, dude. I'm ready to jump into Group A.
Yes.
I want to point out that with each group, we are going to be using the DraftKings Sportsbook. So all the odds that are going to be referenced are going to be from the DraftKings Sportsbook. If you guys want to degen the way I'm going to be degenning a lot, Alan. I mean, I know you don't like to dabble, but I'll be doing the dabbling for you.
I do love me some DraftKings, though.
Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, and Wales. Alan, Italy is going to play all three home games at home. All three home games at home, obviously. But all their games are going to be in Rome. Italy's first return to a major tournament since 2016 Euros. Missed the 2018 World Cup, and it was honestly like a fucking national travesty. People were, the economy went down, hotels were like it was wild, because I didn't know this until I spoke to a buddy of mine who's Italian, and his family owns a hotel in Milan, and they said that during major tournaments, and in particular the World Cup, a lot of tourists go to certain countries to experience the atmosphere of going to a bar in Rome or in Milan to watch an Italy game. I also had another friend who studied abroad in 2012 and was in Madrid for the Euro Cup. And he's like, dude, that was fucking bananas. That was the craziest shit I've ever seen. So tourism went down, the economy collapsed.
They're also a bad sweet, not bad, but very average sweet team.
Look, when you're Italy, you're Germany, you're Brazil, Argentina, the cream of the crop, the 7 or 8 nations that carry cachet. You got to be making major tournaments.
They went out in a very sad playoff at home too. So it was on a Monday. I swear everyone was down.
So historically, when you think of Italy, you think defensively. This team a little more offensive than years past. 24-match undefeated streak. But they haven't really played a lot of elite competition.
It's a lot of qualifying, a lot of Nations League matches. But I think people are just kind of excited about a refreshed Italy. And they kind of just miss seeing the classic because they hold a lot of history. People generally, whether you love or hate Italy, they're going to spark a reaction out of you.
Right. They remind me of a team that I always kind of have in the back of my mind. When I'm talking about as a degenerate, and I like to bet. Even my pops, I know my pops had him 9-1 in 2006. He was like the only Greek dude in Astoria that was rooting for the Italians. And Italy is always a team where, like, you talk about your Brazils, you talk about France and Germany, and then you'll be like, yeah, let's not forget about Italy. They're kind of just always here in the background, just because historically, the defensive mind, and they always have Buffon in net. They're not going to have Buffon in this one. And just like defensively, just
still got Bonucci and Chiellini,
right?
Yeah, which is
pretty problem. It might be the best defensive pairing center backs in the tournament, especially when you factor in these guys have been playing together all these years.
I think France has something to say about that, but
France is also
completely loaded. To say about everything, but the fact they have that experience, Juventus connection, and a lot of like the Thai national team mostly plays in Italy. They don't really spread out, which is something that I know a lot of national teams wish they had, because you see in Spain, Germany, France, like they branch out pretty well. So I think just this group in general, I think it's most balanced, because Italy, even though they've impressed, it's still a lot of wait and see, because it's just they've been off the national radar. But I think Turkey is very much something to talk about, just because their young generation is now coming up. And then you have Wales, which had made that big run in 2016. And then Switzerland's always kind of competitive. So this is a very balanced group to me, which it's not a lot of firepower, but it should be a lot of competitive games.
Yeah, it does seem to be one of the more competitive groups. Obviously, we have the group of death we'll get to in a little bit. I want to mention one thing. If you had to guess, how many Euro Cups have Italy won? Because I was astonished by the answer to this.
I think just one.
Yeah, 1968.
They've won 4 World Cups, because you see the stars.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, seriously? I had to check like another source too, because I just couldn't believe it. I just would have thought. And they have 2 second place finishes in 2000 and then in 2012. Got absolutely demolished in 2012.
Yeah.
And then they lost in extra time to Trezeguet, who was playing in Italy at the time. Scored that game winner there too. I never would have guessed that they've only won 1. Immobile, 20-goal campaign. Won the Golden Shoe last year.
Big reason why Lazio made to Champions League knockout stage.
Which the Golden Shoe is when you lead all goal scorers in Europe. We had 36.
Yeah.
And, that's talking about the EPL, the Bundesliga.
Right. Yeah, no, his stats are really up there. Lewandowski, Kane, Messi, etc.
I feel confident saying they should win the group.
Italy definitely should win the group. I think they might have one of the best midfields, period. Like Barella was a big reason why Inter won Serie A for the first time over 10 years. Jorginho just won Champions League with Chelsea. Verratti stays healthy, which I know my friends just man. Fingers crossed. Always can you just stay healthy for once. But I have a little questions about Roberto Mancini. Never been convinced by him as a manager, but international is totally different. So we'll see about that. But this is a group where even though there are going to be some tight games, I just think they are by far the most talented team. But these other 3 teams, I think it's going to be pretty neck and neck, especially given like their tournament resume. When you look at Switzerland, like a lot of these teams are battle tested. So
Italy is minus 185 to win the group. The second favorite to win the group is Switzerland. Switzerland, their best finish was in 2016. They made it to the round of 16, so they got out the group. Their best player, I think, is Rodriguez, the defenseman.
Fullback. Yeah. Shaqiri hasn't played a bit. I love me some Shaqiri, but he does not play a lot. He scored recently in a friendly against the United States, did Rodriguez, and he's also a dead ball specialist for them. Takes a lot of the free kicks, penalty kicks. So they're pretty bland, but the thing is they're very they have a lot of tournament experience. They're very unified, but it's not always pretty to see. And their most exciting player barely plays for Liverpool, so they're kind of like a team you see moments, but ultimately they're kind of boring and neutral, like their country actually is too, right? Like they got good food, I heard, but as someone that's never been to Switzerland, we're gonna be trashing a lot of these countries, and I've never been to them. Turkey. I'm excited about Turkey. So this was something that stood out to me. Their manager is the same manager from the 2002 team that came in 3rd in the World Cup. Right. So they bring him back. Their best Euro finish was 3rd also in 2008. I'll be honest, I don't know much about the Turkey squad. They're exciting because in all 3 parts, so they got this defender who is probably one of my players to watch. His name's Serdar Sayancu. He's been a big reason why Leicester's been competing for top 4th place over the past years. Old school, he has like this ponytail. He looks like Undertaker from the 90s when Ministry of Dark. The ponytail, it goes up and down. Yeah, he is very old school, no nonsense. He's fun to watch. Çalhanoğlu, big reason why Milan qualified for Champions League for the first time in like 8 years. One of those classic set piece specialists. But the main guy, and this is someone everyone has to watch out for. His name's Burak Yilmaz, top striker for Lille. Lille won the French league, which is huge. They surpassed PSG. He had like 18 goals. He's 36 years old, and he's just a wild man. He scored a hat trick against Holland in the last qualifiers. Just the fact that he's 36 years old and just going wild, and one of the biggest reasons why PSG did not win the French league, I think, is just remarkable, and he's going to lead the line for him. So Turkey's got some players, and they're always a team you kind of have to watch for towards. Like, one of those like classic teams that are like, they don't have a lot when it comes to like resources, like one of the small countries, but they can always spark up a surprise. We saw that in 02. We saw that obviously in 08. Yeah, so they've had their moments, and I think this group kind of bounced out from pretty nicely. So I'm excited about Turkey. They're like one of the mid-tier countries that I think could actually do a major run.
Last but not least in this group is Wales, coming off their best finish ever, the semis in 2016, famously ruining my futures ticket. Right?
Wait.
Weren't they the ones that beat England?
No, it was Iceland.
Iceland. Oh, my God.
Wales. England was actually the only team. I mean, England's only win the Euro Cup was against Wales. 90th minute, I think Daniel Sturridge scored the winner.
That's right.
Yeah, so other than England drew Russia and Slovakia, and then they lost to Iceland. But Wales, they beat Belgium, which was a huge moment. But I think they peaked in 2016. Gareth Bale's not been the same. Aaron Ramsey's not the same. Ryan Giggs was their manager, but got apparently assaulted a woman, and now he is not the manager anymore. So they have tournament drama right before, so that's not ideal. And I don't know. I don't see too many young players coming up. Like, I think Wales, I'm not high on them at all, but you never know. Gareth Bale magic. You always got to keep that in your mind. And Aaron Ramsey's a pretty solid midfielder, but besides that, I'm not really excited about this Wales team at all.
Apparently, this is going to be the last stand for Bale with Wales. There's a lot of heavy rumors that he might retire after this one,
which is crazy. Like, he's retiring, period. They think like he's 31 years old, like from the sport. Like,
yeah,
he's just one of those guys that never seemed overly passionate about the sport. Like, he's very much into golf, and I think him not playing for Madrid much just kind of took his passion.
Soured him.
Yeah,
man, he was so special on those three-peat Champions League Real Madrid teams, man. Yeah. And that one year, I think he either scored against
Barcelona,
against Atletico.
Yeah,
it was either the tie or to win it. But also, like, he has that famous goal against Barcelona where he's like running out of bounds, and then
that was the Copa del Rey. And let's not forget the decisive goal against Liverpool.
Yeah,
the 18 final.
Dude,
he's had moments, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he could still have his moments. It's just he's barely played. Like, he didn't get to do much at Tottenham, and it's just the fact that like their best players are kind of declining makes me pretty sour on Wales.
So what is your prediction for how the group's going to play out?
I got Italy, Turkey, Switzerland, Wales.
Okay. Is any of your third place teams in this?
I do have Switzerland. They always manage just to get to the knockout stage. That's the main reason why they'll slide through.
Okay. I have Italy, Turkey, and I don't. Okay, Group B. Belgium, Denmark, Russia, Finland. Belgium, them and the Netherlands are the two biggest favorites, along with England, to advance out of their group and to finish first in their group. Belgium is also number one team in the FIFA rankings. Are they?
You know what FIFA rankings are. It's very much it doesn't make much sense. It seems very convoluted.
Who would you say should be number one?
France,
yeah. Tell me a little bit about Belgium, bro.
It's the golden generation, kind of still in their peak, but kind of declining. Like, don't be wrong, like De Bruyne and Lukaku are still very much at the top of their game. But like the defense is getting a little older. The guys like Alderweireld, Vertonghen, like they are kind of aging. I gotta mention Thibaut Courtois come off a fantastic year. He's another one of those like the key foundation pieces. He's still at the top, he's still there. So the fact that they got one of the best strikers in the world, one of the top keepers in the world, the best playmaking midfielder in the world, that's the most exciting part about Belgium. But the depth isn't still quite there compared to was 3-5 years ago. And just the whole question about Eden Hazard, will we ever see him the same again? Because the past 2 years have been rough. And he, on his game, is one of the most electrifying players in sport. He will take on defenders. He could go sideline to sideline. Like, he is just incredible. But he just has not been fit. And
So
who knows?
apparently Hazard had a metal plate put into his foot when he was with Chelsea. And then when he got to Madrid, it started to act up on him.
Damn, Chelsea made that $100 million profit.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah.
They scored 40 goals in qualifying and went 10 for 10 with wins. They finished third in the World Cup 2018. Their best finish ever was runner-up in 1980 in the Euro. Lukaku needs to be that man beast that Tim Howard had called him that one year. Remember when Belgium and the U.S. played in the round
2014.
of 16?
That's when he had dreadlocks.
And that's when they both played on Everton.
Yeah.
And he was saying how Lukaku, like, they call him the man beast.
He's a cheat code.
Yeah.
When he's on, he's a cheat code. People say, oh, he doesn't have first touch. Look, he is a nightmare to deal with. Like, his body and then just the way he just accelerates, and then his link-up play. Like, he is your classic center forward, and I think he's going to have a monster tournament, especially in a group that's very favorable.
Yeah,
like, to me, this is the most unbalanced group. Like, to me, Belgium is far superior than these other three teams.
Qualify out of the group, they have some of the biggest odds. Just to qualify out of the group, it's gigantic what their odds are to make it out. So it's, minus 2,500, meaning you got to put $25 to win $1 on them to not make it out the group. I think they finished rather comfortably. I even think that they should go 3 for 3 with wins.
Right, unless they rest their players for whatever reason. But this is they're just so superior, like, top to bottom. And Roberto Martinez is always someone like people are kind of iffy on, but he's like kind of like Mancini. It's like, okay, he's kind of been blessed with this really good team. How will he handle it? But let's not forget, like, they beat Brazil in the last World Cup, and that was a huge moment. Like, people are saying this, like, to me, Belgium hasn't completely flopped. Like, yes, they've underwhelmed, disappointed at times, but look, they beat Brazil in a very, to me, that was like one of the best matches, period, from the past World Cup. And then they lost eventual champion France. But to me, Belgium, like, yes, they need to deliver, but let's not take away from their past achievements. Like, they've done well. It's just now you kind of want to see them take it to the next level.
I feel as if they've had a lot of guys win recently for them too, and I mentioned Carrasco before. He was a guy who ended up playing in China, like, briefly, and then
he capitalized. Remember that little time period in soccer where everyone wanted to go to China just to make that money? He capitalized on it.
Yeah, and then he came back to Atletico. He's a guy that always stood out for me. He would be like the super sub for them. They bring him up off the bench and he play well.
I also really like Dries Mertens on Napoli.
Yeah, Mertens too is a guy that always stood out. Yeah. So yeah, I think they should advance rather comfortably. Denmark. They've won all 3 of their World Cup qualifying games.
They're rugged.
And they've scored 14 goals and haven't given up any.
Wow.
A lot of inferior competition.
Yeah.
It's like Israel is on there and some other, like...
I wonder if there's a Faroe Islands or San Marino in there. But
there might be. There might be. But the goalie is one of the best goalies in the world.
Love me some Kasper Schmeichel.
And... They have a lot of guys that play on, like, some big clubs. Like Christensen plays for Chelsea. He came on for Thiago Silva in the final, and, like, they didn't fall apart. Especially with what Silva means to that team. Yeah. I feel like the key for them and the be-all, end-all is Eriksson.
Yeah, he has to be that playmaker. And he's delivered for the country. They love him for a reason.
Set pieces, it should be... him and only him.
Yeah.
And I just think that he's the biggest key for them. And their best finish ever, they won it in 1992, which is pretty surreal. Yeah. They have I was looking at the roster. They have the number 9 for Barcelona on their team.
Oh, Martin Brathwaite.
Yeah, but, like, he doesn't play for them.
No.
Very underwhelming. But it's just cool to, like, if you were to watch that and be like, yo, they got the number 9 for Barca. Yeah. But
Poulsen's good on Leipzig. He's like this. He has like a ponytail. He's like this big lanky dude. He could play right wing. He could play center forward. He's someone to look out for. Emil Højbjerg was like Tottenham's like holding midfielder / destroyer. He's a very physical presence. So they're kind of like Switzerland, very rugged, but I think they have a little bit more flair.
And they also have more guys that could like with Eriksson. Mm-hmm. You have a guy that could take over a game.
Right.
Where I don't think Switzerland
or they could make that one magic moment. And past World Cup, they were good. They beat a very good Peru team, beat Australia, drew France, and, hey, they pushed Croatia to the limit. They just ultimately lost in the shootout. So Denmark, they're going to be a tough out. It's just, once again, not one of those glamorous teams you really want to watch.
Speaking of tough, they are very good in the air and on set pieces because they have a lot of size. And then with Eriksson being so good on set pieces, I think that's something to watch. They're solid. Like, we're spending time on Denmark because I have them making it out the group. They're solid enough to make it out the group. Yeah. And they have some, I would say, borderline big name players or noteworthy players is a better way of putting it. Yeah. Okay, Russia.
I'm wondering how the World Cup success lingers over.
That and also 2 of the 3 games is in St. Petersburg. Yeah. So, and we saw how they fed off that home crowd in 2018. You know, they got all the way to the quarterfinals. Back-to-back penalty appearances. I forgot about that. They beat Spain.
Yeah, and
then they lost to Croatia. Yeah. How stressed out were you during those penalty kicks?
I lost 5 years of my life.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. It's the best feeling when they make it through on penalties, but when they lose, it's like
so much anxiety goes into that.
It's terrible.
The only time it's a really good feeling is when if you're going second and the team misses first and you get that little bit of a feeling.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to Croatia a little bit, but like if it's you have the advantage, it's good. But like if you're down, it's like, if they don't save this,
more tense. Right. So this was very interesting. 2 of the 3 games are in St. Petersburg. Their one game is in Copenhagen. Wow. Against Denmark. Right. So it's like they're gonna be,
which is fair because they just hosted major tournaments.
Right,
so
right. Like, but it's gonna be fun to see them have. They're probably the only team in the group stages that actually is gonna have home field play a role in those games because 2 of them are gonna be at home for Russia. And then one is going to be in Copenhagen against Denmark. Yeah. Their best finish ever in 2018, they went to the semis. Remember Arshavin? The dude that won.
2008.
Oh, 2008. What did I say? 18?
You said 2018.
18, no.
2008, yeah.
2008.
When Gus Hidnik was manager and they had Arshavin Classic. Yeah.
They don't have a lot of, like, stars on this team.
A lot of them play in Russia.
But they seem to play well together, and that factor of playing in Russia, what you said, the lingering success from the World Cup.
Like Golovin's someone to watch. He plays for Monaco, center attacking mid. He's like one of their more flair players. Be on the lookout for him. But a lot of them play nationally. There's one funny story. So they have a 6'7" striker. His name's Artem Zhuba, and he briefly was dropped from the national team because their video leaked of him masturbating.
He was cranking it.
Yeah. I don't know how he called. He got dropped from the national team, but he's like the captain of Zenit St. Petersburg. Zenit won the league. Yeah. So he's fun to watch just because he's 6'7", but he's big. He's not like a Peter Crouch lanky. He's like this is big massive figure. Can't move, but like he makes his presence felt. So Russia has some guys. It's just they don't play across Europe. I don't really know too much about their players, and I don't really hear much buzz about them. But then again, I didn't hear much buzz about. The only buzz I heard in 2018 was that this was their worst national team ever, and then they
They were the lowest ranked team on FIFA going into that tournament.
Like I heard nothing but this team is going to be abysmal. Like don't watch them, and then they just slaughter Saudi Arabia and beat Egypt, and they did their thing. But I don't think there's much hype for them again. But they're another team that they command some respect. You gotta acknowledge them.
Last team in this group is Finland.
Salute to Finland, man. It's like their first major tournament. How long?
First ever major tournament.
First period.
Ever, yeah. Their manager is a former center back for them and a school teacher who had no club coaching success.
I feel like Finland's the Iceland. I don't think they're going to have the success of Iceland, but it's just a fun, feel-good thing.
They have a dude who Premier League fans might know, Pukki.
Yeah, he was fun for Norwich. Yeah.
He scored 10 of 16 goals for Finland in qualifying.
Yeah, he's your standard, scores a lot of goals in the championship second division, but then when he gets to Prem, it doesn't work out too well for him. But he's fun.
So the way I have this group set up, Belgium is the favorite. I have them winning. Mm-hmm. And then I have, ready for this? I got Denmark coming in second. Finland is one of my teams to be the best third place qualifiers.
Okay. That's a big wild card.
Yeah. Russia, I think they come in last.
I think Finland might have the only national team to have an MLS player in the Euros. I think they have one MLS player.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, you got to represent.
Let's go. We got to represent it. Even better. I didn't know that stat, but I'm on board now. Yeah. How do you have this group playing out?
I got Belgium, Denmark, Russia, Finland. Russia's one of my third place teams going for.
Okay. Okay, I like it. I'm probably going to eat crow on that one, but if I make it, Alan, I'm going to be tapping myself on the back.
I think them and North Macedonia are the biggest underdogs in this tournament. That just come to mind because those two countries have not been in a major tournament in a very long time.
Did you know that North Macedonia is the biggest long shot? Because they are 500 to 1 odds.
I didn't. It's just been a long time since they've been in national spotlight.
They're actually the next group too. Yeah. Group C, we got Holland, Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. Holland, the Netherlands.
They're back.
They're back. Finals in 2010 World Cup, semis in 2014 World Cup. They missed the Euros in 16, and they missed the World Cup in 18. They won it in 1988, and they have how many third place finishes, you think?
2?
4.
Jeez.
Finished third in 76, 92, 2000, and in 04.
I know in 98 World Cup, they lost to Croatia in the third place game.
They haven't won a Euro Cup game.
It's been long.
Since 2008.
Yeah, because in 2012, to me, one of the craziest groups ever was Germany, Portugal, Netherlands, Denmark. One of the craziest groups, and because this was like peak Portugal, peak Germany, and they won a game. Even Denmark beat them.
Bro, and that was peak Netherlands, dude.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Robin, Schneider. Oh, yeah, come up 2010.
2010, they
Van
make it to the final.
Persie, Schneider, Robin.
And then they're in the semis in 2014.
Oh, you're right. Oh, great point.
So they are another team who's going to have all 3 of their games at home, playing in Amsterdam. No Van Dijk, we said.
Yeah.
Probably the best defender in the world with Liverpool. Easiest draw of any national powerhouse team. They have the biggest odds of any team to advance out of the group. They're strong up the middle, both defensively and in the midfield. And Memphis Depay never did it for me.
I'm a fan of him, but I understand why.
But he seems to be their most
prolific player.
Yeah,
he kind of be like a false 9, but he's bare on the wing. But they don't really have that true center for. Like they never replaced Van Persie. So, but Depay is always hot and cold. But like for Lyon, he's been turning it up, and he's just someone. He's on his game. He takes on defenders, scores worldies. Like he gives off on the watch. And then you have De Jong and Wijnaldum, very strong midfield. Center backs De Ligt and De Vrij, who was a big part of Inter winning the Serie A. So this is a pretty formidable Netherlands team. I do think this is by far the worst group, just because Netherlands hasn't qualified for so long. Ukraine, to me, and Austria were like the 2 worst teams in the previous Euros. Like they were borderline unwatchable. And then you have North Macedonia, which hasn't made a tournament in so long. So to me, this is a very, very weak group. But I guess it's just exciting the fact that Netherlands is back, and maybe North Macedonia could be a huge surprise. Maybe Ukraine could bring it back. I don't really rate Austria. So,
bro, you don't even believe that for North Macedonia could be a surprise. Come on, man.
They still got Goran Pandev. Like, do you remember Goran Pandev was on the Inter team with Mourinho? That's how long ago he's been playing. Like, he's 38 years old. His widow's peak is the craziest I've ever seen in my life. Like, but and I do want to mention North Macedonia. Their midfielder is actually Dinamo Zagreb's captain. So, and Dinamo Zagreb's come off to like their best year in a long time for Croatia. So
they also have a 21-year-old who's probably their best player. Elmas plays for Napoli too.
Oh, okay.
He's a starter.
So they can see there's moving pieces here. But no, I think this is Netherlands group to lose. Like I think they're by far the best team. Ukraine's a little bit of a nostalgic feel just because Shevchenko's the manager.
Like,
who doesn't love Shevchenko? Like he still looks really good for his age too. Yeah, and I do want to mention, I think the player to watch, like if you want someone on their radar, his name's Rusam Malvineski. He's one of the big reasons why Atalanta has been so good these past few years. He's an attacking midfielder, just an absolute rocket of a right foot. He's not one of these players that bends it in. He just blasts it. Like he's very precise. So Ukraine, I don't know too much of the national team because a lot of the national team plays in Ukraine, but he's one of the ones that they're delivering in Europe. Like Atalanta, they're I think the 14th richest Italian team, so you consider Serie A 20 teams. Like they're one of the poorer teams in Serie A, yet they've come in second, third place the past few years.
They also made a Champions League run.
Yeah, they lost to PSG.
Yeah.
Which, I remember I showed up to a podcast afterwards. I was so dejected because they're a great story on Atalanta.
Yeah.
So he's one of the big reasons behind their success. Rusam Malvineski, but I think this is Holland's group to lose, and I don't know. I don't find this is not much of an intriguing group. Maybe something will spark up here, but I think it's just people want to enjoy Holland and see what else happens.
They have never made it out the group stages in the Euro. They've won 1 of the 6 games ever in their history. They got a dude who plays for West Ham, Yarmolenko, who's pretty flashy.
He's got a rocket left foot, but he has not been fit for the past 2 years.
And then Austria got Alaba.
He plays like 4 positions for him.
Yeah,
Like literally,
and he plays like at an elite level on all those positions.
He'll play attacking mid, then he'll play holy midfielder, then he'll play left wing back. Meanwhile, for Bayern, he'll play center back. Like it's crazy. He's going Madrid too.
Yeah,
so he's got a lot going on for him.
Their best finish ever is just making the group stages in 08 and in 2016.
Well, they hosted in 08, so
yeah,
it was all mech. Yeah, Austria's always kind of been a pretty disappointing country.
How do you have this group shaping out?
Netherlands, Ukraine, North Macedonia, Austria. North Macedonia is not one of my third place teams.
Wow, interesting. Hey, that'd be a big win for them, man.
Just to
not be at the bottom. I got it. Netherlands, Ukraine, and I don't have a third place coming out. Real quick, the odds: Netherlands minus 205 to win the group, plus 450 for Austria, plus 475 for Ukraine. 40-1 odds for North Macedonia. They are the biggest long shot to win their group, as well as the biggest long shot to win the Euro Cup. To put it in perspective, Greece had better odds of winning the Euro Cup than Macedonia did.
Still got to fit that Greek mention.
Got it. Lambs up, baby. Lambs up. Okay, next group, Alan, is Group D.
Oh, we're about to have some fun.
We're about to have some fun. Okay, this is England, Croatia, Scotland, and the Czech Republic.
A lot of storyline here.
A lot of storyline here. I want to start off with England. All 3 games are going to be at Wembley. The semis and the final is also going to be at Wembley. They make it out the group. I believe they should. Their 2 games in the knockout stages are not going to be in London. So that's a little tidbit there. What's their best finish ever in the Euros?
96, I remember, was pretty historic.
They came yes, correct. They were semis.
Yeah.
They're the favorite currently to win the Euro.
Wow.
They have insane young offensive talent. Harry Kane is the defending golden boot scorer of the World Cup.
Correct.
He's coming off a big campaign, 23 goals, 14 assists. They crumble under pressure.
It's well documented.
And now expectation is you got to win it. They haven't won a major tournament since 1966. Thoughts?
They have an absurd amount of young talent, attacking talent.
Insane. And it's wild.
We're talking like Raheem Sterling's pretty established. I wouldn't consider him young at this point. I feel like he's been on the national radar for like 7 years now.
He's been young for like 5 years.
Yeah. So I wouldn't consider him, but we're talking Jadon Sancho, who doesn't play in the Premier League, but he's been tearing up for Dortmund.
Let's go, baby.
I love me some Jack Grealish. He plays for Aston Villa, so he doesn't get quite the recognition, but he's one of the most clever dribblers, fantastic playmaker. They have Phil Foden, who's Young Player of the Year, and he seems like he could play a whole different positions. Mason Mount come off a fantastic year. I think was Chelsea's best player. So you have Mount, you have Foden, you have Sancho, you have Grealish. Bayoko Saka is a potential option, one of Arsenal's young studs coming up. So we're one of the very few Arsenal young studs.
Yeah, that's rough.
So,
dude, real quick side note, I was looking at the 04 Arsenal roster. It's like Gilberto, Silva, Vieira, Pires, Bergkamp, Henry. The Invincibles.
Also, how we've not mentioned Marcus Rashford as well.
Right, he's going to be the captain for them.
No.
Yeah, I saw
over Harry Kane.
I think I saw a headline.
I'm surprised about that. Harry Kane's been much longer.
Marcus Rashford.
Everyone loves Marcus Rashford, doing a lot of big things in the community, and he's had a bit of a down year by his standards, but he's such a big threat, especially coming off the left wing. So England, attacking wise, they have an abundance of talent. It's just at the back, keeper, and midfield depth is a concern. Jordan Henderson hasn't played a competitive game since mid-February. He's kind of their leader. He will be playing the tournament, but the fact that he hasn't played competitive games since February has to be concerned. Harry Maguire's got injured. He's struggling for fitness. He's one of their main defenders. They just lost Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I don't think was going to start, but he's arguably the best attacking fullback in the world. Losing him is a big loss just because set piece specialist, someone you could bring on if they're trailing, need a goal. He's just putting crosses in the box, big for that. So they are missing some pieces, but this is a very exciting England team.
I stand corrected. He was the captain for the friendly that they had today.
Oh,
it's Harry Kane. You're right.
Yeah, it's either Harry Kane or Jordan Henderson. Those are the two main ones.
So Roy Keane snapped that Henderson made the team.
Roy Keane always does Roy Keane things. I love me some Roy Keane, but he's kind of, I don't know who to compare. I don't know who the American comparison is.
Yo, so this is, if they come in first, they got a tough draw. Yeah, they're going to play the second place team of Germany, France, Portugal, and Hungary.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a tough test coming out the group.
It's the worst part of Euros where it's like, okay, you feel like you're being rewarded for winning the group, and then the next thing you know, it's
the group
like,
of death, and you're like, fuck, dude, I got to play France now or some shit.
And it's not, and wasn't in their control. It's just this is how UEFA line it up. So that's the thing I really hate about the new format, but you just got to put up with it. But I think England's in a position where it's like, I don't think there should be the number one odds, but I do think they're a top 4 team. I do think besides France, Portugal, and Belgium, like they probably are the best team across Europe just with how much attacking talent they have. So they should have the belief, and they shouldn't be afraid of anyone. It's just there's not a lot of experience there. There are questions about Southgate. Defensively, they're shaky. I do not like Jordan Pickford. I think keeper-wise, there's
probably their weakness, right?
Yeah, it's a big weakness there. And I just think defensively there are some questions. So, and it's just, will they like how they crumbled in the semifinal against Croatia? I don't think it's gonna linger, but it's definitely something that infuriates people, especially English fans, because they had such control in that match, and then it's just they kept retreating, and they're just a team that they don't know how to play with a lead. That's the thing that's concerning with England. Like, can they put away teams before all that attacking talent? Time will tell. But I think there's every reason to be excited about them. It's just proceed with caution.
Croatia.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to let you speak about them. I just want to say one thing. They have the same odds to win the Euros as they did to win the World Cup, 33-1 odds. What is their best finishes ever in Euro Cup?
I think quarterfinals at best.
Quarterfinals?
96 and 08.
Let's go. That guy got bars.
That Turkey game. Oh, my God. They scored in the 119th minute. They allowed a goal in the 121st minute. One of the worst penalty shootouts ever won. This is young Modric, young Rakitic. They all missed the penalties. Everyone was crying. I was like 15 years old. First time ever in Scorpio's legendary Croatian bar in Astoria. I was devastated.
Damn, you were a young buck then.
Yeah, 08.
Fuck, dude. You had to be like, what, 15?
Yeah, 15.
You were 15,
08, yeah.
I want to just mention one thing and tell me how you feel about this. I think their weakness is forward.
There are a lot of weaknesses in them, but yeah, forwards, there's question marks. The question marks defensively.
No man Zukic, who would have thought? I never liked that dude, but he just played well for.
He did deliver, did, but age. It's kind of like the end of their golden generation. If I could sub for Croatia, there's still some pieces there, likes of Modric, Perisic, Vida, Lovren. It's still there, but obviously, 2018, everyone wanted to see something special because this was like their true core group, and look, they absolutely delivered. But Mandzukic retiring, Rakitic retiring, Subasic retiring, it was going to leave some holes. And I don't want to say there's a World Cup hangover. They've looked pretty terrible since post lockdown. Like Nations League was a disaster. They have not looked convincing in qualifiers. There's still questions defensively, like how they're going to set up. Shima Vashiko has not played in like 2 years, and like he's trying to play now, and it looks like he has not played a sport in a bit. It's very disappointing, like because he was one of the heroes, and then he just had knee injury after knee injury. So him not being fit's a problem. If anything, Modric is still as good as ever. Like he's come off a great year for Madrid. I don't think there's any questions about him. Perisic, Brozovic, they just won the Serie A with Inter Milan. They're still playing at a consistent rate. It's just there isn't a lot of reliability there, and it's like players that are over 30 that are aging that you hope can still deliver, but outside of Modric and Perisic aren't delivering. And then you have a bunch of players that are 22, 23 that you hope that could deliver, but time are waiting. We're talking about Nikolai Vlasic, Josip Brekalo. These are like the new Croatian young generation to be on the lookout for. But there are a lot of questions, but I will say Croatia usually, there hasn't been a tournament where they've completely just faltered. Like if they're very competitive, they're very intense. It's just they find ways to lose in the most dramatic ways possible, which hurts. But
coming out the gates, Croatia, England first game. Yeah,
which obviously, to me, this is the group of storylines. So you have the World Cup semifinal, and then England, Scotland, huge rivalry. So this is like the storyline-based group. Look, Croatia, they're very talented. It's just a matter. I have questions about formation-wise. They're still trying. Kovacic has been on the national team for 6 years. He still doesn't know his place, which is very disappointing. But they have a lot of talent. I'm not questioning the talent. It's just it's a weird time. Like they're very much in a transitional phase, and it could either blow up in their face or they could totally surpass expectations. Time will tell. But I'm not overly optimistic, but at the same time, I still have faith maybe that's the fanboy in me, but I do think they'll make it past the group. But I still want to have the faith. It's like, okay, let's at least make quarterfinals, especially off the World Cup. Like, establish yourself as at least a top 8 European country, and I hope they could do that. Time will tell.
So in this group, England's the favorite minus 245. Croatia's plus 350 to win the group. Next,
Damn.
Yeah. Next, it's the Czech Republic, runners up in 1996, their best finish ever, and in 04 they lost to the Greeks in the semis. I don't know much about this Czech Republic team.
Me either. They didn't make it.
A ways away from Milan Baros,
Jan Kolar, Wojcicki, the great Pavel Nedved.
Oh, that was my God.
Everyone's favorite pure Czech. Like when I first got into sport was 2006, and I remember seeing like that Czech Republic. I remember the first game I watched was ironically was against USA. I think they beat them like 3-0. Yeah. I remember Jan Kolar just going right over Eddie Pope, just banging it. Yeah. But since then they've been, I don't know, they just never quite recovered from that golden generation. And I don't really know much about this team. They have 2 key players that were a big part of West Ham's success. So West Ham came in 6th this year, huge surprise. And they have this midfielder. His name is Thomas Souček. He's like 6'4". He's very awkward looking, but he scored like 10 goals, and he's like a box-to-box midfielder. He's someone to look out for. He's very exciting. And then they have their right back play for West Ham. It's Vladimir Kufal, who is very kind of awkward looking, but like he just gets it done. But he's very good crossing wise. So those are 2 players I think I've watched a little bit of, and I think are players to watch out for. But Czech Republic, they're kind of a team, not a lot of star power, and just kind of coming up. I will say though, a lot of their players, they come from Spartak Prague, and they made to the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and they knocked out Rangers, they knocked out Leicester City. So I think there are some buzz for Czech Republic. It's just their players aren't very well known. So I can't really give like a full breakdown, but I do think they will be competitive. It's just I wouldn't expect much.
Last but not least is Scotland.
Big deal, man. They're back.
Yeah.
20 years.
Their best finish ever is in 92 and 96. They just made it to the tournament. They have 2 games at home against the Czech Republic and Croatia in Glasgow. They got a dude from Chelsea who should get some run, Gilmore. He's 19 years old. Yeah, and then they got Robertson is probably their best player.
Their 2 best players are left backs, Robertson and Tierney.
Tierney
was one of the better players on Arsenal. So it's weird. Scotland, like, people have been waiting. Like, I think they're like one of the more fun fan bases because they're just so used to disappointment. Like, they're one of those teams. I don't know what's the equivalent in America. Maybe like the Sixers. Even though they're nowhere near as good as Sixers, but like they're so used to disappointment that if anything good happens, they just like embrace it. Like, that's to me what Scotland is. Like, they're just gonna enjoy the ride, and whatever happens. And they got some decent players, but I wouldn't really have much high expectation for them.
How you got this group playing out?
I got England, Croatia, Czech Republic, Scotland. I don't have the Czech Republic as one of my teams. I do think this is a very fun group, but it's more of just like, okay, England, Croatia, we want to see how that semifinal plays out. But, England, even though they have injury issues at the moment, I just think right now, like, I think people are going to be blown away at how good they are up front. Like, there is so much talent there. Like, I'm interested to see how they line up and how many goals they score in this group. Like, Harry Kane, we might see him put up like 4 or 5 goals in this group stage.
England, Croatia, Scotland, Czech Republic. I got Scotland being one of my 4 teams to make it through.
It'll make the tournament a lot more fun. Like, Scotland's kind of like the Ireland, Northern. Ironically, they're all from the UK, but like they will start the fun chance. They'll get it going, and I think just you want to see like a country that's well known finally make it after such a long time out. So, I guess they're like the little favorites that everyone's going to get behind.
Group E: Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. Fun fact: Spain is tied for the most Euro Cup wins. Do you know how many they have?
3?
3.
Yeah.
64, 08, and 2012 back-to-back. Only nation to win it back-to-back. They haven't won a knockout game since winning Euro 2012, so they didn't win any knockout games in 16.
Yeah, lost to Antonio Conte's Italy. Very, very... That was just a weird game.
This is the most... There are 2 fascinating storylines for Spain. One of them is with no Sergio Ramos, 2 things happen, Alan. There are no players from the 2012 winners of the Euro Cup.
No, Busquets was on that team.
You sure?
That's the one thing I'm curious about was Busquets, because he's like the only. To me, he's like the last player left from the Spain legendary run.
Spain.
Like, when did he make his debut?
He actually just tested positive for COVID too.
Oh, damn.
5 days before Euro 2020 at the start of us talking about this. So let me see. Was he on that team?
Because I don't think De Gea was on that team yet, because Casillas was the keeper.
He was there for 2010.
So maybe he's just like a squad player then.
Yeah.
But I still consider him like part of the Spain triple run. But obviously, look, Sergio Ramos, he's like the biggest figure possible.
So then that ties into the second point, which is there's no Real Madrid players on the roster. That's the first time ever in Spain's history.
Yeah,
that's big, because that's a cream of the crop. That's the biggest club in the world, and not to have no one representing that club on the Spain level.
And I think people will question that, given the manager Luis Enrique, his ties to Barcelona. So there are some questions about that. And just leaving Ramos is a big statement. I know he's hasn't been fit this year, and like he's always kind of, you never know if it's always a red card or some sort of drama. But Ramos is still to me one of the top defenders, and he's still someone that so much big match experience. The fact that, and remember, like, I don't know if we mentioned this, but like the Euro squad is 26 compared to 23. Usually the standard is 23, but due to how many games have been played this year and COVID they wanted to put 26. And Luis Enrique opted only to bring 24. So I think the storyline of this group is just how much uncertainty there is with Spain. Because I think this is, to me, the most bland group. I'm not particularly crazy about Slovakia, Poland, or Sweden. I think that these are pretty average.
No Zlatan, baby.
No Zlatan hurts, yeah.
Fuck, man.
But to me, this Spain team, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's not the most exciting group. There's not a lot of like big young talent coming up. And how Luis Enrique, because at the start, he was there, but then he had some sort of health issue. Like, he wasn't a manager through parts of qualifying, and then he came back, and like his assistant took over, and then his assistant didn't like that he came back, and he fired the assistant. So there's been some drama in Spain, and then now no Real Madrid players. That's kind of weird, and it's just, I don't know. There's not a lot of buzz for Spain, and even though they're in a favorable group, I do expect them to win the group. I'm not really buzzing for them, and I think. If like I was doing predictions, like I think the bracket works out well for them, but like if there was a big country and the bracket didn't line well for them, I think they're the big one that would flop.
Yeah, Spain, it seems like we might start looking at them 2 tournaments from now as being, because they have like a youth movement coming in too. Right. They got that dude Fernan Torres plays for Man City.
Right.
Pretty sure he scored like 3 or 4 goals against Germany in a
he's one of their young talents. Marcus Llorente on Atletico Madrid. I know that Barcelona has this kid coming out. I don't think he's on the squad, though. Ansu Fati. He's like this 18-year-old kid, left winger, so explosive. But he's like one of the new generation eventually will come up. But I don't know, it's just not – like, I don't get buzzed about them. And then I think there's major questions with De Gea. Like, I don't think De Gea has been the same. And crazy stat about him, he has not saved a penalty in 36 attempts.
Oh, shit.
Think
so
about
he's
that.
A Gilbert when he's in.
Like, think about 36 penalties he's allowed,
and he's considered by many to be like a top 3 goalie.
He
in the
was,
world.
yeah.
He never, he never ever did it for me.
Yeah.
Just something about it, just never.
He got dropped at one point, but the thing is, Spain just doesn't have a replacement for him. And another little cool thing, I guess that's noteworthy about Spain is that this one of Manchester City's main defenders, Aymeric Laporte, was French. Deschamps never called him up, just didn't rate him, and now he just transferred over to Spain. He just got citizenship, so that's another thing. Like, he's never played for Spain, and now he's expected to be one of their main defenders in the tournament. Like, how is that going to work out? So there's just a lot of moving pieces. You want to talk about players that never did for you. Like, for me, it's Morata. I never liked Morata. Decent, he's got good size, good legal play, but he's never been a good goal scorer. Always seems like bad body language. Like, if he misses a chance, head down. Like, he just never one of those strikers that is like one of those decisive finishes you want. So I'm not crazy about Spain at all. I'm not going to be hyping them up, but this group is pretty weak, and I think they'll get through it. But this isn't what like your traditional like 5-star Spain. Like, okay, this is one of your 3 favorites. No, I think Spain's like a top 7 team in Europe right now.
They're going to be strong in the midfield like they always are.
Yeah,
and they're a very frustrating team to watch sometimes too. Mm-hmm. where it's a lot of possession.
Yeah.
The tic-tac back and forth. It could get very boring watching Spain.
And the thing is, like, they don't have the star power. They like back then you could tolerate it because you had Xavi's and Iniesta and Fabregas. Now it's like there's not a big star really in there.
Poland. They made the final 8 in 2016, their best finish ever. For me, the biggest weakness for them ties to Lewandowski, and it's not him per se. It's the fact that they don't have anyone that could set him up, really.
It's not a lot of creativity.
He scored no goals in the 3 games at the World Cup 2018. He broke a Bundesliga record this year, Alan, 49 years old. 41 goals he scored. But obviously the talent at Bayern is it's not even uncomparable to what Poland has. But I think that's a big weakness for them, bro, because they have no one to set up Lewandowski, who's probably the best number 9 in the world.
Right.
Like pure center forward, it's probably him.
I would agree with that. I do think Holland will surpass him in a year or two, though. Hopefully Norway makes a major tournament at some point.
Man, that dude is a problem. And it's also crazy that, like, just going to leave off Mbappe.
We're talking about center forwards.
That's true. Yeah. But back to Poland.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Poland? Do you agree that that's the biggest weakness for them? That they don't really have a lot of setting up for.
They're fairly mediocre. I thought they were one of the worst teams in the World Cup back then, and there were high expectations for him. Like Milik was one of their rising stars. He hasn't really developed. Because they're one of the few teams that plays like their classic 4-4-2, which you don't see very much anymore. But it's just there isn't much there. Attacking wise, like they're pretty solid defensively. I do like Fabianski, their keeper, even though I think Szczesny on Juventus will be the starter. So I think they're pretty solid keeper wise. But I don't know, there isn't much glamour to the squad. But I do think given Lewandowski, he'll probably get a couple goals in there, and they'll fight through this group. But Poland, they're not one of, like, the mid-tier countries that I'm necessarily like gonna big up. I think it's just more of like they're in a functional group, and I think Lewandowski alone will push them to the knockout stage.
Sweden, their best finish ever is the semis in 1992. We mentioned no Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who was off, kind of retired, and then got called back.
They brought him back, which was shocking because he made a couple derogatory statements towards the national team manager, but it's Zlatan.
It's Zlatan, bro. He cuts promos on everybody. Everyone is on the menu with Ibrahimovic. That's why he's such a big fan favorite. They got Forsberg from RB Leipzig, probably their most impactful player, and Isak.
Yeah, he's being hyped up, but to me, I think the player to watch it is Kulusevski, who plays for Juventus. One of the few bright spots here, because Juventus had a terrible year, and they were borderline unwatchable at times. Like, I don't know, Pirlo was just a bad fit, but Kulusevski, he's like this 20-year-old inside forward winger. Be on the lookout for him. He's very exciting.
Slovakia, round of 16 in 2016, their best finish ever. They have the oldest roster in the Euros. 10 players over the age of 30. Hamsik, probably the most iconic player.
Yeah, the Mohawk. Legendary. And Skriniar is very good on Inter, but like I have a lot of Irish friends, and like I watched Slovakia, Ireland, quite possibly one of the worst matches I ever watched in my life. Like Slovakia got here on a playoff through being Ireland and Northern Ireland. Like they are not very good. I don't expect much from them.
As we've talked about it, very underwhelming group. Even the favorite is.
I told you this is the blandest group to me.
Yeah. How do you have it shaping out?
I have it Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. Poland is one of the 4 teams I have going through.
That's the same thing that I have too. Spain, Sweden, Poland, Slovakia. Poland being one of the ones.
I don't like this group at all. But thankfully, we're ending this with a banger, the best group possible.
I mean, dude, you want to talk about fucking. This is chaos. Group of death.
Well, I'm waiting for you to bring out one of your signature phrases. Like, I think it fits the bill here.
Slobberknocker, barn burners, bar fights.
There you go.
So this is a European bar fight. Absolutely, yeah. Group F: Germany, France, Portugal, Hungary. Check this shit out, Alan. The last 3 major tournaments.
The winners.
The winners are here.
Bang.
You got the World Cup, Germany in 2014. You got France in 2018, the World Cups, and then you got Portugal, the defending champions of the Euro Cup,
who beat Portugal.
Who beat France. France.
Yeah.
Who do you want to start with first?
You gotta go defending champs.
Portugal, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say world champ. See, I gotta clarify.
Okay, I gotta clarify, brother.
I gotta clarify, and because I think look, there's so many storylines here, but we gotta start off just out of nowhere. Karim Benzema's back. 5-year exodus.
The sex tape god.
Yeah, but
one of the more wacky stories for those that don't know, Benzema, a premier talent, one of the best players in the world, plays for Real Madrid all these years, a French staple, was actually the number 10 for France also. Gets into this sex tape scandal with Valbuena, teammate in like 2015, gets exiled from the French team because he used it as blackmail against them.
So he misses the Euros in France, which is
misses the
so
Euros
devastating.
in France,
Yeah,
was saying how he'll never play for the French team again, how they betrayed him and whatnot.
Call him racist, yeah.
And then is now back on the team.
And like hasn't even played a qualifier.
Yeah, just the most shocking call up of the whole tournament.
I didn't hear any interviews, didn't see any headlines. It was just like, oh, Karim Benzema's getting called up. We're like, wait, what?
And it's a fascinating dynamic because this core of French players, I remember I said it back in 2016. They're gonna go on a Spain run. Obviously, they didn't win the Euro Cup then, but I still feel like they won the World Cup in 2018. They're my pick to win the Euro Cup, and then I'd probably make them the favorite to win the next World Cup too. Like this is how good their core is, dude. The depth. You're talking about like if Mbappe pulls a hamstring and have to miss games, it's like you could call in Benzema there. Like you have just so much depth across the board.
Griezmann, Dembele.
I think their most important player though is Conte.
Yes, the workhorse, the engine.
Yeah.
He's the engine. He's the motor. He's everywhere. If you need someone just to win back possession, then you could give it to Pogba, give it to Mbappe, give it to Griezmann, whoever. Like there you go. And I do think their fullbacks on the right. Like Pavard to me had the best goal of the past World Cup. He's one of the
one-timer, right?
Against Argentina.
Yeah.
I know you were heavily invested in that game. Lucas Hernandez, very good fullback. A lot of Bayern parts of this team. And then center back wise, I love Kimpembe on Bayern Munich, and then PSG, and then Varane still stallion now over at Madrid. So they have such a strong core.
I was fascinated by this because usually the guy to win the Golden Ball player of the tournament is like a goal scorer kind of. Conte's the favorite to win the Golden Ball. Kind of stood out to me.
Yeah.
Just it caught me by surprise. I did say that I think he's their most important player. This is the most fascinating thing for me. In 2018, Mbappe was running wild in Russia. Like he was a one-man wrecking crew, just taking on defenders and just creating so much havoc. He's better now than he was then.
Yeah.
And dude is only 21. He was 19 during
He's
that.
terrible.
Sorry, he's 22 now. So he technically qualifies as a young player of the tournament.
Right. Because he came up when Monaco was at their peak in like 2017. They won the French league. They made it to semifinals, and he was at the forefront of it. And you just see him now. It's just, dude, if you give him space, just say your prayers. Like, dude, he's just terrifying. Just the way he blazes past defenders. And then now you have such a decisive finisher in Benzema, and you have Griezmann, who I know he annoys people, but Griezmann, in that box, if he gets free, like he's scoring. He is as decisive as it gets.
And I know he's sort of been underwhelming since he's left Atletico. Shows out for France.
Yeah, he does deliver. Yeah, and Giroud's a great backup plan. I know people aren't crazy about Giroud, but Giroud, great hold-up play, someone as an alternative, great option. I think the only question about France, I think Lloris has declined over the past few years. He kind of tends to have a mistake in him. If there is a weakness in France, I do think keeper could be the one thing that holds them back.
Okay, next up, Germany here. Oh, by the way, France won it in 84 and then in 2000. And then they lost in the final in 2016. Okay, Germany. Tied for the most Euro Cup wins with 3, along with Spain. They won it in 72, in 80, and in 1996. Recently, Alan, they lost in a friendly to North Macedonia.
No, qualifier.
Qualifier?
Yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a qualifier.
Yeah, it was qualifier.
Because like you actually care about those,
Yeah.
right? They lost 2-1 to them. Has the manager overstayed his welcome? I would say yes. And especially when you're a Germany and you get knocked out of the knockout stages. You bring them back?
Well, they lost in group stage.
Group stages,
and
even
it was
worse.
the group is pretty like the teams are like South Korea, Mexico, Sweden. Like you're talking about pretty subpar opposition. And the only game they won was because Toni Kroos hit a ridiculous free kick from that angle.
Was basically like a corner.
95th minute. And besides that, they lost to Mexico, lost to South Korea. Like it was bad, and like they haven't been that good in Nations League. And so this is his official last tournament. Hansi Flick, the Bayern manager, is going to take over after the tournament. So I think German fans just have hope, okay, whatever happens, at least the future, because Hansi Flick did such a tremendous job at Bayern. But there's just so much uncertainty. There's a lot of dysfunction. Like the past tournament, there was cliques being formed. There was a Bayern clique. There was like a Turkish clique. And then there was like a young player clique. So I don't know how much confidence they have in Joachim Low, but I don't think it could be potentially any worse than it was in 2018. It's just a matter of like, will his style adapt? Because the thing with Germany, and I think why they fell apart, is just they play like a high line, but the thing is like their fullbacks will go up and like their center backs would just be isolated, and they don't have the quickest center backs, and they just got at it. That's how Mexico beat them. That's how South Korea beat them. So I hope they alter their style a little bit, but even their squad, like I'm not overly enthusiastic about. Like they have some aging players, the likes of Neuer and Cruz. They brought back Mats Hummels,
and
I'm not
Muller.
that crazy about. Yeah, Muller's come from a solid year, but he's just someone. He's kind of like your poacher. Like he knows where to put himself in the right positions to score. But then
back to back, he won golden ball.
Yeah,
golden boots. Excuse me.
Yeah, and look, he has the eye for goal, and I'm glad he's back. It's just I don't know. I don't see the young players progressing. I think Timo Werner has really been a disappointment at Chelsea. He's someone that he knows how to put himself in the right positions. It's just he has no finishing ability whatsoever. So Leroy Sané is called for this one year. Kai Havertz hasn't quite clicked. Like I don't know. Germany, they have fun players. It's just
they're not in form right now, which is something very important when you're looking at it. You know, I mentioned before with Italy how they're always like in the back of my mind. Germany's always there when it matters. Dude, look at this resume. 02, they come in second in the World Cup. 06, they come in third in the World Cup. 08, they're the runners-up in the Euro Cup. They get to the semis in back-to-back seasons, in back-to-back Euro Cups, third in 2012, fourth in 2016. They win the World Cup in 2014, and then in 2010 they make a run too, and it's just like
they built almost 2 decades of consistency.
Yeah, which is very impressive on
that's
the international level.
I don't want to be too cruel, but it's like you look at recency. That's where it's just like that's what makes their downfall so shocking.
What can you tell us about Narby?
Oh, he's probably one of the better ones. Yeah.
Led them in qualifying. He had 8 girls. 8 goals.
Hey man, let's not forget. And I thought he was one of the biggest reasons why Bayern won the Champions League previous summer. Like he scored some big time goals, and he's one of the most explosive talents. I heard they might play him up front as like a false nine, given how much they're frustrated with Werner and Havertz. So we'll see. But I think he's better as a wing. Like to me, if Germany's gonna be at their peak, I want to see Gnabry and Sané as their wingers, because I think they are two of the most dynamic talents on their roster. And Sané, he's kind of a freak. Like he's big, he has a huge afro, and he just drives at the fence. Like I love those wingers that have no fear, and I think Gnabry and Sané are those players. Now, will they flourish in the system? Time will tell. Like
wasn't Sané the guy that they excluded from the World Cup team?
Yeah,
and then there was the big controversy. Like, how do you leave that guy?
Yeah, and then look what happened.
Right.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like him, and then Pep kind of ostracized him as well. So like Sané, he has some discipline issues. He's not the most focused player, but raw talent wise, I think he's one of their best talents. And I think if Germany's gonna be successful, they need to get those two right. And it's gonna be important how Toni Kroos recovers from COVID. He's coming back from that, and this is actually his last tournament too. So how they integrate him. I do want to mention Gundogan, who I think was one of the City's best players. So he's someone to look out for. But overall, there's just, I don't know. I'm very concerned about Germany, and a big part of it is just how they've looked over the past few years. And to me, they're in a group of 2 of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, the other team being Portugal.
Yeah,
the actual defending champions of the Euro Cup. Man, their best players are coming off really good seasons.
This is their golden generation come out.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this is the best Portugal team since like 04-06. Like this is a scary good team.
Man, Rui Costa, Pauleta,
Deco.
Ronaldo, Deco. Figo.
Oh, great.
Those are
Ricardo Carvalho.
That's a big claim there. That's a big claim there. But you're right though. Like Felix, Bruno Silva, Ronaldo still. I mean,
Jota had a great year at Liverpool. Bruno Fernandes was absolute stud at Man United, and Ruben Diaz was a rock at Man City, and then Joe Cancelo, I think, is one of the better fullbacks in the world. They have a really, really talented squad, and we talk about their manager, like one of the few with real longevity, Fernando Santos. You know, we're gonna mention Greece here again. Did a fantastic job of Greece. He
used to coach my favorite club team, AEK.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he's a Greek legend, like in a good way.
He got him to 3 knockout stages.
Yeah.
Like think about that. Greece made it to 3 knockout stages because of him.
Legend.
And look, he's won a major tour in Portugal. They actually won the first ever Nations League. They made it to the finals. I think they beat England and then they beat Switzerland. Holland and then Switzerland. So he's done a fantastic job with them, and I just think everything's coming together for them. If there's a question about them, it would probably be their defense a little. I think Pepe's still potentially going to be their starter, but I will say Pepe, like Porto's big upset with Juventus, he was like their man of the match. Like he was unreal, like clearance after clearance. So Pepe, even at 38, still playing at a high level. But I don't think this is a very deep squad. I don't think there's many flaws to this team, and I think if there's a challenger to France, they are the one.
Hungary. Shit draw.
Hey, they beat Iceland to make the playoff. You got some games to watch. You know, you get to leave the house. You get to watch great talent, but it's very unfortunate. It was funny. I think in 2016, they were one of the surprise teams. I think they made out the group, and then they lost Belgium. I'll never forget their goalkeeper. He was like 40 years old. He was wearing sweatpants. He was wearing legit gray sweatpants that you go for a jog at a major tournament.
That's tremendous.
So, like, I remember, what good goalkeeping stories. Like, you see sometimes the keepers wearing the baseball hats if it's too sunny. This dude was wearing sweatpants.
Oh, my goodness.
So, Hungary, there's a much to say. I just think it's unfortunate.
They finished third in 1964, their best finish ever. How do you have this group playing out?
I have it France, Portugal, Germany, Hungary. Germany, one of my 4 teams going through.
Same.